Live fire rotisserie is a fantastic way to create beautiful flavors and textures you just won't find anywhere else. A wonderful crust forms outside as the fire creates subtle smoky aromas and flavors. This is what makes outdoor cooking so special. I'm Russ Faulk, Grillmaster and Chief Designer for Kalamazoo Outdoor Gourmet. I've been a grilling enthusiast for more than 40 years, and I'm here to help you master the techniques that will take your live fire cooking to the next level. Live fire rotisserie is something that traditional gas grills just can't do, and it's one of my favorite ways to cook on the Kalamazoo hybrid fire grill. The hybrid does have an infrared gas rotisserie burner, but I'm going to show you how to use live fire for more flavor and a more engaging cooking experience. I'll start with some incredible beef ribs cooked over an oak wood fire, and then I'll switch to a charcoal fire for delicious bacon-wrapped pork loin. I tell everyone who wants to experiment with wood-fired cooking to try it on the rotisserie first. It's an easy process and it's very forgiving. The fire doesn't need as much management or attention because it is offset from the food, rather than burning directly underneath it. If the fire is a bit big, simply leave the grill lid open. The ribs will cook gently from the radiant heat. As the fire dies down, close the lid to take advantage of the convective heat and flavorful smoke. The first thing we want to do is remove the cooking grates from the grill. There are two reasons for doing this. Firstly, it makes it easy to manage the wood fire down in the hybrid fire grilling drawer. And secondly, if the grates were in there, the fire would heat them to a point where the drippings from the beef would flare up immediately. You'll also want to flip the warming rack up and out of the way while it's still cool. Then we can add a couple of splits of wood into the drawer. I'm using oak, but you can add any wood you like depending on the flavor profile you're after. Fire up the dragon burners down below the drawer to get the wood fire started. I fire up the barbecue burner at this time as well. Once the wood fire is caught, carefully relocate the burning wood to lay it across the front of the drawer. Positioning the fire across the front of the grill creates a more gentle, indirect heat for cooking the ribs. You'll want to make sure that the fire is not directly beneath your food. I turn the dragon burners off at this point, but I leave the barbecue running to supplement the fire. Leaving the barbecue burner on helps maintain the fire throughout our cooking time. It runs across the very front of the grill below the drawer. Anything you want to cook on the rotisserie can be done using this method, but I want to show you these beef ribs because of how simple and impressive they are. They have become a favorite at Kalamazoo ever since Stephen Reichland first cooked them on his Project Fire television program. These are beef short ribs that I got from the butcher before she cut them down into the smaller pieces you're used to seeing inside the case. Always be nice to your butcher. They'll be a little happier to go dig around the back to find the thickest rack of ribs for you. Ribs from the thinner end of the rack don't work well for the rotisserie. Slide the pointed end of the spit through the meat as close to the bones as you can. The forks themselves don't need to pierce the meat, so I just square them up to hold on from the outside. I always tighten the set screws with a pair of pliers so that they don't vibrate loose while the spit is spinning. By mounting the food on the spit before you season it, you'll make a little bit less of a mess and avoid knocking a lot of the seasoning off. A little olive oil, salt, and pepper are all these ribs need. We want the beef and the smoke to be the stars of the show here. Carefully mount the spit into the grill, and then turn on the rotisserie. The motor is built into the grill, which makes this easy. The ribs will need about 2 hours to cook, and you're going to need to add some more wood along the way. Our target internal temperature is 200 degrees Fahrenheit. These are kind of like brisket in that regard. While the ribs cook, we have plenty of time to make a fresh chimichurri. The herbaceous and acidic chimi is perfect for balancing the richness of the meat. The scent of beef and oak is incredible. This is what we're here for. I check on the ribs a few times just to see how they're coming along and make sure the outside of the meat isn't darkening too quickly. Once the ribs have reached 200 degrees inside, take them off the grill and let them rest for 20 to 25 minutes. I remove the whole slab of meat from the bones first, and then I slice across the grain. Serve with chimichurri and a little finishing salt. The flavor of wood-fired beef is big and bold with a noticeable hint of smoke. The meat is tender and juicy because we took the time to melt the internal fat and break down the connective tissue. Once you've tried this, you might never braise short ribs again. Now that you've seen what we can do with wood, I'll show you how to use a charcoal fire. Charcoal is even easier. The smoky flavor you get from natural lump charcoal is much more subtle than what you get from a wood fire, but will still come through with pork and poultry. Beyond the flavor from the fire, there is another benefit to charcoal-fired rotisserie. The heat from charcoal is a much drier heat than you get from the gas flame. And a dry heat is much more conducive to the Maillard reaction that makes roasted meats taste so good. A charcoal fire can deliver that perfect crust at a lower cooking temperature and in less time. To show you the charcoal technique, I'm making bacon-wrapped pork loin with an apricot mustard. This cook will take about 90 minutes, but it will not require a lot of attention along the way. First, load the front part of the hybrid fire grilling drawer with charcoal. Just like with the wood fire, the charcoal should not be under the rotisserie. The best results come from an indirect heat source like we're doing here. I'll start the fire with all 3 dragon burners and the barbecue burner on high. The charcoal should be ready in about 20 minutes. At that time, I'll turn off the dragon burners and I'll leave the barbecue burner on for the remainder of the cook. While the fire is getting ready, we can prepare the roast. Pork and fruit flavors pair extremely well together, and wrapping the pork loin in bacon gives the meat an extra boost of flavor. It also looks really cool when it's done. We'll start by making the bacon weave. It's easier than it looks and it only takes a few minutes to assemble. Just lay the bacon down in parallel rows, then fold back the end of every other strip. Lay a new strip down across the rows to start the first weave. Unfold the ends over that new strip, then fold over the opposing set of strips for the next cross piece. Repeat until you have the full weave ready. Flattening it out with a rolling pin and some plastic wrap will help it stay together a little better. Then set it aside. Take your boneless pork loin and slice it open in a zigzag cut to fold out one layer at a time until it looks like a flat sheet. I've combined some apricot preserves, Dijon mustard, and fresh thyme for the filling. The recipe for this is on the KalamazooGourmet.com website. Season the whole thing liberally with kosher salt. Then spread the filling over the top and roll up the roast. Wrap the bacon weave tightly around the pork loin and then tie it in about 6 places with butcher's string to hold it all together. You can rub any of the filling that may be left behind onto the outside. Slide the pork onto the spit with one of the forks already secured. I prefer to avoid piercing the meat with the forks. They can do their job just fine from outside of the roast. Slide the other fork on and tighten it with pliers to make sure it is as secure as possible. Mount the spit and then simply push the rotisserie button on the control panel to get it spinning. With the roast offset behind the charcoal fire, it'll cook with gentle, indirect heat for about 90 minutes with the grill lid closed. Our target cooking temperature for the first half hour is 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We want about 350 degrees for the final hour of cooking. You can achieve this by turning down the barbecue burner at that time. We're after an internal temperature of the meat between 150 and 155 Fahrenheit, which should take about 90 minutes. Once you take it off the grill and let it rest, it'll coast up to the 160 or 165 degrees that you need. The bacon on the outside is crispy and browned, and we've got that nice flavor from the charcoal fire. The pork is tender and juicy thanks to the gentle heat. The spinning rotisserie also helps ensure even cooking. This is so much better than cooking indoors, and more flavorful than cooking with gas. It is just one part of what I love about cooking with the hybrid fire grill. The versatility to do so many different things and the experience of cooking with a live fire. During the week, it gives me the convenience of using it as a gas grill, and on the weekends, I can take the time to do things with charcoal and wood that are a little more special. The hybrid is up to the challenge for any technique you want to master. This is Food+Fire by Kalamazoo Outdoor Gourmet.